Kelowna. Kelowna lifted his hands. He didn't hesitate. There was no doubt whatsoever in his mind about what he had to do. He would not allow anything or anyone to get in his way, and this human boy was standing between him and what he desired. He didn't particularly want to kill the boy. He didn't particularly want the boy alive either. It was a simple necessity. He didn't feel remorse or regret. As had been the norm during the centuries since he'd fallen, Kelowna felt very little. So, indifferently, the winged immortal twisted the boy's neck and put an end to his life. No! The anguish of that one word froze Kelowna's heart. He dropped the boy's lifeless body and whirled around in time to see Zoey racing toward him. Their eyes met. In hers were despair and hatred. In his was an impossible denial. He tried to formulate the words that might make her understand, might make her forgive him. But there was nothing he could say to change what she had seen. And even if he could work the impossible, there was no time. Zoey threw the full power of the element's spirit at him. It hit the immortal, striking him with force that was beyond physical. Spirit was his essence, his core, the element that had sustained him for centuries and with which he had always been most comfortable, as well as most powerful. Zoey's attack seared him. It lifted him with such force that he was hurled over the huge stone wall that separated the vampire's island and the Gulf of Venice. The icy water engulfed him, smothering him. For an instant, the pain within Kelowna was so deadening that he didn't fight it. Perhaps he should let this terrible struggle for life and its trappings end. Perhaps, once again, he should allow himself to be vanquished by her. But less than a heartbeat after he had the thought, he felt it. Zoey's soul shattered, and as truly as his fall had carried him from one realm to another, her spirit departed this world. The knowledge wounded him worse than had her blow against him. Not Zoey. He never meant to cause her harm. Even through all of the Neferet's machinations, through all of the Tesai Sagili's manipulations and plans, he'd held tight to the knowledge that, in spite of everything, he would use his vast immortal powers to keep Zoey safe, because ultimately, she was the closest he could come to Nyx in this realm. And this was the only realm left to him. Fighting to recover from Zoey's attack, Kelowna lifted his massive body from the clutching waves and realized the truth. Because of him, Zoey's spirit was gone, which meant she would die. With his first breath of air, he released a wrenching cry of despair, echoing her last word. No! Had he really believed since his fall that he didn't truly have feelings? He'd been a fool and wrong. So very wrong. Emotions battered him as he flew raggedly just above the waterline, chipping away at his already wounded spirit, raging against him, weakening him, bleeding his soul. With blurred, blackened vision, he stared across the lagoon, squinting to see the lights that heralded land. He'd never make it there. It would have to be the palace. He had no choice. Using the last reserves of his strength, Kelowna's wings beat against the frigid air, lifting him over the wall, where he crumpled to the frozen earth. He didn't know how long he lay there, in the cold darkness of the shattered night, as emotions overwhelmed his shaken soul. Somewhere, in the far reaches of his mind, he understood the familiarity of what had happened to him. He'd fallen again. Only this time it was more in spirit than in body, though his body didn't seem his to command any longer either. He felt her presence before she spoke. It had been like that between them from the first, whether he truly wished it or not. They simply sensed one another. You allowed Stark to bear witness to your killing of the boy. Neferet's voice was more frigid than the winter sea. Kelowna turned his head so that he could see more than the toe of her stiletto shoe. He looked up at her, blinking to try to clear his vision. Accident. Finding his voice again, he managed a rasping whisper. Zoey should not have been there. Accidents are unacceptable, and I care not one bit that she was there. Actually, the result of what she saw is rather convenient. You know that her soul shattered. Kelowna hated the unnatural weakness in his voice and the strange lethargy in his body almost as much as he hated the effect Neferet's icy beauty had on him.